Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss how Boris Johnson is continuing to try and keep the plates of Tory support spinning by playing musical chairs in a small reshuffle of cabinet this week, with the promise of a much more meaningful one this summer. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So the general feeling is that Johnson will survive this week, which means, assuming there are no more major scandals before the Gray report is finally published, that he should now be safe until the summer at least. But safety of position in this case is not the same as security. Johnson is now on a tightrope. There's like just one slip and he could still fall at any time. Case in point, the small reshuffle this week and the promised larger reshuffle in summer. So let's consider what both of these means. First of all, Chief Whip Mark Spencer has been removed from his post. There's a new Chief Whip now. Don't worry, the new Chief Whip is also a bit of a bully, so that's fine. But Spencer was accused of bullying, very serious bullying, more beyond even what you'd normally expect a whip to do. And he was accused by a number of Tory MPs. He was even accused of Islamophobia. And he was being blamed for some of Johnson's cock-ups. How much of the mess was genuinely Spencer's fault and how much was Johnson's because he was giving him his instructions? It's neither here nor there, really. A lot of Tory MPs wanted Spencer out of the way for various reasons, not least was because he was the most unpopular member of the cabinet amongst party members, according to polls. So Johnson has a new Chief Whip now, but Spencer wasn't sacked. In fact, he's still in cabinet. It's not even really clearly the case that he's been demoted. You could argue it's a little bit of a promotion in some ways. It's probably a bit of a side grade, really. He's been made leader of the House of Commons, which is Jacob Rees-Mogg's previous job. So Spencer is still going to play a leading role in getting government business through the House. Now, whether Johnson couldn't sack him because Spencer as Chief Whip might make a powerful enemy, he'll know a lot of things, or whether it's just that Boris Johnson is once again tinkering in order to do just enough to stave off a major rebellion. I don't know. He promised a big shake-up of his team. Oh, I'm going to make major changes. MPs have been calling for him to do this for ages. Your team's wrong. You need to get better people in. Oh, yeah, don't worry. I'm onto it now. And all he's doing is moving people around the same seats. You know, then we come to Jacob Rees-Mogg. So he's no longer leader of the House. Just as well, he was an embarrassment to both the country and actually Johnson's government. So, was he sacked? No. Although he was demoted, this was a definite demotion. In order to keep him in cabinet, Johnson's invented an entirely new position for him. He hasn't moved someone else to make room. He's created a new job. He is now the Minister for Brexit Opportunities and Government Efficiency. Now, for those who haven't already heard, I kid you not, it's right there on the government website now. So he's the Minister for Brexit Opportunities. Some are now referring to him as the Minister for BO. In fact, it has been argued that this appointment might actually be the first job created by Brexit. He is his own Brexit benefit. But the appointment took me back to the 2019 general election campaign. Like, I remember Moggy saying something stupid in the first couple of days. I wish I could remember what it was now. But he said something that didn't go down too well. And then we never heard of him again for the rest of the campaign. So he had clearly been told to keep his mouth shut by the campaign team. Then 2 years later, Johnson puts Rees-Mogg in charge of Brexit opportunities and government efficiency. A rare masterstroke from Johnson, I thought. What a brilliant way to make sure Jacob Rees-Mogg never has anything to talk about ever again. And another thing I'd like to point out about this round of musical chairs. Last week, as a host of Johnson's top team were resigning, I was pointing out that the notion that it was planned, a controlled move from the Prime Minister was absolutely ludicrous. You know, because I pointed out, we were hearing of these resignations late into the evening. There were no statements from Downing Street to explain what was going on. There was no news of replacements at the time. That's not how planned and controlled changes of senior personnel in government happen, I said. But note the difference with this small reshuffle yesterday. Happened in the afternoon. The details and replacements were announced at the time. That's how things are managed when they are genuinely planned. The comparison should leave people in no doubt that Johnson was flying from the seat of his pants last week and acting in pure desperation. Then I saw reports suggesting that there is to be a more meaningful reshuffle this summer. he reportedly wants his top team to reflect the challenge of a 2023 general election. So consider this. This is all assuming this is true. So this is only from reports. So assuming he's saying that he wants to have a more meaningful reshuffle of his cabinet this summer to get ready for the election campaign, and that election campaign could be 2023. Consider the strategy here. So if he has said this, it will be to focus his MPs on a general election in just over a year's time. Now, he knows that he is only Prime Minister still because MPs do not believe any possible replacement has his campaigning abilities. Any number of them would be much better at governing. Any number of them. Larry the Cat, even. But they're all a big risk for an election. There isn't an obvious one who's got that quality that Johnson has. So what Johnson is trying to do is get his MPs to switch from government mode to campaign mode, where he is the strongest. Then the second bit about the summer reshuffle, a big one. What does a big reshuffle mean? It means lots of promotions and demotions. When they occur, we often think of the changes in cabinet, and those are always the headline news, but there's 100 or more ministers altogether, and lots of MPs will be hoping for promotion. By promising a major reshuffle, he is saying, stick with me, and it could be good for your career. Because, I might promote you. You replace me with someone else, they might not promote you. And even for those who don't personally gain, it's like a promise that there will be more competent ministers to be promoted to cabinet and the boneheads removed. Johnson has been promising to do this ever since we left the EU. It was argued that he had a cabinet full of zombies to make sure Brexit got done. And then he'd replace them with one more suited to governing. But he's never actually done it. I would suggest he has no intention of a large reshuffle in summer. I don't think there's going to be a big, meaningful reshuffle. For a couple of reasons. First of all, if you have a big reshuffle, yes, that means people get promoted, but it means people get demoted as well. And it means people get passed over for promotion, even if they're not demoted. So although you please the people you promote and you get them on side, you annoy the people you demote and you annoy the people who are passed over. I don't think he wants that. He enjoys also having loyal sycophants in key positions too much. So if there is a big reshuffle this summer, it's because he'll have been forced into it. But why promise a major reshuffle in summer? Why not now? Why not work on one now? If he's saying there's going to be a big reshuffle, he's saying the current cabinet are not fit for purpose. Why leave it in place another half a year? For me, the likely answer to that is that he's putting in place a fire break for the next expected hit to his authority. If he imagines that no new revelations will hit him very hard over the next few months, it'd be ridiculous to suppose there'll be no more scandals. But if he believes they're all manageable, he knows that the local elections are unlikely to be positive for him in May. There's no getting away from that. In addition, the police investigation has to conclude at some point and the Gray report published. Yes, he may suppress that still. I'm quite sure that he would want to suppress it. But if he can't, and that'll be down to his MPs, if he can't, then it's coming out. It might even be May as well, meaning a double blow to Tories MPs' confidence in him. The threat of a confidence vote could then loom again. In fact, surely it would. So he promises a major summer reshuffle to keep his MPs sweet. Remember, they've already now proven themselves that the vast majority put their own political careers ahead of the country. It's ahead of the people, even ahead of basic decency. They are allowing Boris Johnson to continue through his potentially unlawful behaviour over Partygate, his definitely unlawful behaviour over the funding of his flat redecoration, another example of inciting far-right hatred, which resulted in a physical attack on Labour leader Keir Starmer this week. They look at him and they see Donald Trump, the man who led an insurrection of his own country to maintain power. They see this and they do nothing. It takes 54 letters to trigger a confidence vote. That this number has not been reached means that there are in excess of 300 Tory MPs who have not submitted a letter. What does that mean? It means that they see Boris Johnson. They see him for what he is and do not care. They put themselves above everything else. So the law of a promotion for these people will be powerful. It would not surprise me if Johnson promises to be working on his reshuffle from May, when everything goes wrong for him again, and then keeps them hanging on. Oh, I'm working on it. I've got to get it just right. There's a lot of changes here. There's a lot of changes. I've got to get it quite right. Then he announces his pointless next round of musical chairs just before the summer, and then the summer recess calms opposition down to him. Then he'll come back after summer, and maybe he'll think in September he can then say, right, we're too close to the election now, don't rock the boat. Otherwise we'll be out, won't we? You've got to stick by me now. Of course, this won't be true. They got rid of his predecessor half a year before the eventual election and won it anyway. But those are my thoughts on what it means for this small reshuffle and the promise of the larger, meaningful reshuffle later this year. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, I'll see you later.